We're at the highest mine on the Cwmystwyth, and it's called Cwmystwyth, and you can see a couple of little entries under the southern flank, and if you go over that southern flank you get into the Elan Valley, and as you go downstream you get to Cwmystwyth, the village. And just coming into view on the right you can see the mine captain's house, and then as we go round to the northern flank of the hillside you'll start to see the Cwmystwyth mine and the discharge that's coming out from Cwmystwyth. You can see this ochreous discharge right in front here, and just about 20 yards upstream. That's about 8 tonnes per annum of toxic metals that are getting into the Cwmystwyth. We actually have 24 tonnes per annum that enters along the River Reach, but we've only got one visible adit, which is Pew's adit, that discharges. So I'll take you over to Pew's adit now. Here's the flow gauging structure that we previously used to make our estimations of metal loading. It's rather crude, but it's been effective in the past. And you can see now there is a siphon takeoff for it, and that's being used by Professor Chris Greenwell and Cwmystwyth, who are trying their clay and algae beads to adsorb metals. And as we look at the whole of the landscape has been heavily mined, and as we look up the valley towards Cope Hill we've got Bronze Age mining that's up there, and as we go right up the valley we go over the watershed towards Rhyadr, and there the Wye flows eastwards to emerge out down in southeast Wales, whereas the Cwmystwyth flows west and emerges in Aberystwyth in West Wales. We're about another 50 yards further upstream, and we've got a little bit of an upwelling that comes here, and that's from Lower Gills Adit, which is underneath the spoil on the far side of the road and the telegraph poles. You can see much of the spoil has been put on the floodplain. And right in front of us is where the old Pelton wheel and water power. Right on top of the mountain is a lake that fed the hydro scheme, and that powered the mills. And this is a location where Bob Vaughan's family once worked as smithies. So some of my colleagues have got real skin in the game in this particular site. We're another 100 or so yards just upstream, and you can see again the telegraph pole at the side of the road, and the stream that comes down from the mountain past the mine buildings, the mill, and the water wheels, and discharging directly onto the floodplain. And here you can see we've got slimes, or very fine grained material, that were deposited on the floodplain as well. And that's a problem for us with erosion going forward. You can see some of the horizontal straight lines, which were leats that help feed water for the different parts of the site. And as we go upstream, there's another emergence point. It will be dry today because there's a lack of water around, and that emergence point is Kingside Adit, and Kingside Adit is also on the north side of the road and obscured. As you can imagine, a site with this many features and such history, there are lots of designations, and you'll see one or two papers that have been prepared on Cwmystwyth. And it's a site that Natural Resources Wales and the Coal Authority are interested in taking further forward to do anti-pollution works. It's one of our principal sites, one of the main lead zinc mines in Ceredigion, and some of the anti-pollution works that we're considering are actually looking at canalising the river or the streams as it crosses the floodplain to stop erosion, because we're getting a lot of fines being eroded and leaching of metals. And you can see we've got the waterfall up on the mountain, then we've got another tributary just to the east, and then further upstream just beyond the car there's another tributary up there as well. And it's all been mined heavily on the hillside, and I'll take you over to see a couple of the mine buildings. Here we have the most recent crushing mill. The blocks used to house the rollers, and you can see at the back we've got ore chutes. The brick arched entrances are actually ore chutes, and the ore was fed in just from above to feed the mill. The designations on this site cover habitat, heritage and landscape. Barry Stewart, one of our ecologists, is particularly fond of Cwmystwyth, and he's collected seeds from some of the rare plants and nursed them in his nursery, and he actually sold me some sheep's foot which originated from here. It's metal tolerant, and I've got it growing in the Vale of Glamorgan in my garden at home. So quite special. The designations are scheduled monuments. These are the ore chutes. We've got triple SIs and special areas of conservation. Again, it's where the ore chute came delivering the ore. And I'll take you round up onto the top to show you some of the area there. I do apologise if this is jiggling around quite a lot. I'm a geologist after all, I'm not a cameraman. An old one as well, so I don't scamper up these slopes that quickly anymore. So this must have been part of the turbine house at the top, and you can see on the grills on here with the ore chutes. And I'll take you up onto what was one of the leats. And over to the far building where we have the remnants of the housing for the water wheel. And if we go further on up here, there was another mine captain's house, and he had some daughters, and he built some tennis courts for his daughters so they could exercise, stay fit, like many of the cyclists that pass through this area now. Some lovely foxgloves around. I'm actually filming this on June 22nd. So we take you back to these buildings. The heritage here is really important. The site's now owned by Cambrian Mines Trust, and they've got ambitions for trying to restore one of the buildings. We have the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act in Wales. It's really important to us because it's given all the public service bodies such as Natural Resources Wales, all the local authorities, NHS, Sports Council, it's given them all duties, and they have to consider what can benefit the community and benefit the health of the communities. So here we're actually very close to Pontrhy de Groes. Pontrhy de Groes is just downstream, quite a famous mining village in mid Wales, and Cambrian Mines Trust are wanting to bring in a visitor centre here. It would give some employment, it could be a museum, it could signpost some of the treatment systems that we're wanting to construct. So we could use some of the funds that we're utilising and allow Cambrian Mines Trust to adopt some of those funds and use it as leverage for things like Heritage Lottery Fund. So the money we're spending on some canalisation, anti-erosion works before we get to the treatment works, and the costs here most likely will exceed 2.5 million. So you can appreciate if that can be utilised by Cambrian Mines Trust, it's got some direct benefits for the community. Really interesting site. As you look down the valley now, downstream, again back towards Cwmystwyth, some spoil on the south side. Again you can see the almost horizontal lines, one taking water one way west and the other bringing it east. Hope you find it interesting. In 2023, this could be one of the destinations. We're currently looking to assess more flow-gating structures, renew the one at Pew's Adder, so we can actually identify specific loading on the streams and out of the individual adits. Size the treatment plant where we've got very little space, so some of the RD&I that we're investing in we're supporting only with small amounts of money, but it's helping to stimulate Professor Chris Greenwell, Cwmystwyth with their clay algae adsorption beads. We've also got the active electrochemical systems that could be used, wouldn't have a big footprint adjacent to the floodplain. Elentech and Power and Water have been doing quite a lot here in Wales on electrochemistry. It's two slightly different techniques. We've also had passive trials in the past using vertical flow ponds. We've got the system at Abbey Consols, which is a dose sodium carbonate system. and we've got Professor Jose Miguel Nieto's system, the dispersed alkaline substrate trials, again, which using a magnesium oxide, and once we've got the results in from all these various strands, we'll be able to go through the optioneering and consider which system is going to be most appropriate here. It'll probably be in 5 or 6 years time before we get to constructing a treatment system, but it's an exciting future on the metal mine front in Wales. I hope you've enjoyed that.